Hi, my name is Taylor Thomas, and today I will be doing a documentary on the Progressive Era. You might be wondering what the Progressive Era is. The Progressive Era was a period of widespread social activism and political reform across the United States that spanned from 1890s to the 1920s. The main objectives of the Progressive movement were addressing problems caused by industrialization, urbanization, immigration, and political corruption. The movement primarily targeted political machines and their bosses. Women's suffrage. Many progressives supported prohibition in the United States in order to destroy the political power of local bosses based in saloons. At the same time, women's suffrage was promoted to bring a pure female vote into the arena. These two issues in the movement brought about constitutional change. The 18th Amendment passed in late 1917, which banned the manufacturing, sale, and transport of alcohol, while the 19th Amendment passed in 1919, which gave women the right to vote. Education reform. Another big reform in the Progressive Era was the rise of teacher education. Colleges and universities began offering degree programs in education and teaching. First, they offered bachelor's degrees, and then slowly schools began offering graduate degrees in education-related fields. The Progressive Era was mostly fueled by urban, educated people who saw that the country would benefit if everyone had opportunities to be their best. One of the major goals of the movement became making a better way of life for immigrants, minorities, and poor residents of the city. Public health. The Progressive Era in the United States lasted from 1890s to the 1920s and brought widespread social and political reform to the country. The field of public health flourished during this period. Through public initiatives in health education and health care, reformers successfully fought the communicable diseases, malnutrition, and poor sanitation prevalent at this time. The increasing collection of data and advances in the field of statistics were a boon to public health professionals at this time, as well as appealing to moral and philosophical sentiments. Progressive era health reformers could also use hard data to make arguments and support decision making. Child labor. During the period from 1902 to 1915, child labor committees emphasized reform through state legislators. Many laws restricting child labor were passed as part of the progressive reform movement of this period. But the gaps that remained, particularly in the southern states, led to a decision to work for a federal child labor law. Congress passed such laws in 1916 and 1918, but the Supreme Court declared them unconstitutional. Also, as you can see in these photos, this is pictures of the children working in the different factories that they had. And yeah. Women's activism and suffrage campaign. The women's suffrage movement was a decades-long fight to win the right to vote for women in the United States. It took activists and reformers nearly 100 years to win that right, and the campaign was not easy. Disagreements over strategy threatened to cripple the movement more than once. But on August 18, 1920, the 19th Amendment to the Constitution was finally ratified, enfranchising all American women and declaring for the first time that they, like men, deserve all the rights and responsibilities of citizenship. These two pictures show them protesting, and I only could find two because the others were just like the same as these two, so I just did the two. Immigrants. Immigrants came to America during these eras mostly for their economic opportunities. As the United States saw unprecedented industrial growth following the Civil War, an unprecedented demand for labor, mostly cheap and unskilled, also grew. The vast majority of these new immigrants came here seeking work in the dream of going from rags to riches. This was a popularly viewed idea. America as the land of opportunity where anyone willing to work hard, save money, and be smart could become rich. Some new immigrants, such as Russian and Ukrainian Jews, come seeking refuge from religious oppression by governments at home. But by far the greatest reason for new immigration was for employment. The southern and eastern European nations most new immigrants fled were dire economic times with high unemployment and limited opportunity. Minorities. How did the progressive movement affect minorities? If we evaluate the progressive movement regarding how it impacted people as a whole, and therefore including African Americans, there will be some positive impacts. For example, there were consumer laws that were passed that positively impacted all consumers. The Meat Inspection Act called for the federal government to inspect the meat that was being sold. The Pure Food and Drug Act made it illegal to falsely label food and medicine. These laws positively impacted all consumers, including African Americans. When President Roosevelt and President Taft broke up big businesses that weren't acting in the best interest of the public, many Americans benefited from these actions. Thus, some of the changes made during the progressive era positively impacted African Americans because these actions helped almost all groups of people in the United States. Here are some extra facts. Children were employed in factories, wages were low and unregulated with no wage minimums. Factories were cramped and unsafe, no standards existed for food safety, no safety net existed for citizens who couldn't find employment. Housing conditions were unregulated and the environment was not protected by federal regulations. I hope this documentary was very helpful and educational, and I hope you guys learned something new, and have a good day. Bye.